So I have 6 employees, for example, and I would come to you and go, we need to move out of my apartment to an actual location right now. You would tell me, this is where your next hires might come from, these companies. This is where your current employees live, and this would be the best commuting routes. What other information could you give me?
Well, go ahead, Mary. I mean, what I would really give them is help them prepare for a potential space that they're interested in. They may not know that it requires financial qualifications, as well as a business plan, as well as a personal guarantee, because the landlord is looking for a tenant that's really qualified and fits in their building. So it's a lot of preparation work that you have to do with a startup, and they might not be aware of. They think they might be just like signing a residential lease, but it's quite different. It's more of a business relationship, and it's a fit with the building as well.
Can you go into more detail about that? And Mary, if you'd like to add, because I really have no idea about this business relationship. Please tell me more about it.
Well, from a business relationship perspective, we have our fellow brokers and that we do a lot of work with. We have the ownership of buildings that we have relationships with, and other, real estate professionals. So we have sort of this inside track on what's happening, and we're on the pulse of the market. So when these companies come along and they're looking for space, we know, for example, a space that may have just been vacated, or something that's maybe going to come to the market that's not technically being marketed and available to just the public.
And that's because you know the owner of that building or the landlord, and you know the last person's lease ends 6 months from now or a year from now.
Right. So we're, that's our job, to be real estate, to know what's going on in the market so that we can service these clients to the best of our ability. And I think that it definitely helps to add value, because when you think about these decision makers of these companies and how much time they're trying to put into running their startup, it's a lot of time and communication in trying to identify properties in the market. So if you're reaching out to professionals like Carlos and I to help them identify the properties that could be well located and suited, and help them with understanding all these business points that need to be negotiated and discussed, it'll help save them a lot of time and effort.
Now, is it different from a startup coming from another state to Silicon Valley versus another country to Silicon Valley? What types of problems or situations do the different startups, depending on where they come from, face when they come to Silicon Valley?
I think it's pretty much the same thing. I think it's the expectation of what the landlord requires of them. I mean, a lot of them, for example, I experience with folks that are doing drones, so they have big, large propellers, or some of them that are doing robotics that need space where they can go down the aisle and these type of things, and they don't know what locations will allow that kind of a usage. So there's certain type of usage, for example, PDR, production distribution repair, or some of the industrial kind of zoning and warehouses that can actually have offices in there as well. So these are the type of usages that some of these startups will require, and your typical office won't have that type of availability. So
right. So for example, a client like that might go into an R&D facility as opposed to an office.
R&D facility? What's the difference between that and an office?
Research and development.
Right.
Okay.
And so in those types of buildings, you're going to have power requirements that are going to be different than your typical office building. So with their technology, they may need, for example, some higher amperage in power, 400 amps or up to 1,000 amps. It just depends what they need, but that's up to us. We need to ask those questions and help them figure out what their needs are from that perspective. Clear height,
high
in
ceilings,
a building, high ceilings.
Roll-up doors, that sort of
dock
thing.
high doors for deliveries.
So how much do you actually have to know of the startup, what they're doing, their product, what they're working on, in order to give them the best option for them?
Well,
that's a really good question, actually, because what I do, Mary, is I actually go visit them first. I make sure they're qualified, first of all, and then they say who they are, because I will, on behalf of the landlord, the owner of the building, I actually have to go do a site visit of where they're currently located, if they have a current location, understand their operation, and see if it's a fit for them, or what's a fit.
Interesting.